Get the session rolling. My name is Vince Kyles. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Orthopedics and also Physiology and Biophysics. Been here for 36 years. We started our first undergraduate class in exercise physiology way back in 1992. We now have a new major. This is the first year of our undergraduate major. We've got a exercise as a medicine program running with our medical students. We've got our exercise medicine sports science initiative, which is EMSI, which you see around. And you've heard some fantastic talks this morning, and we're going to continue that tradition, I hope, this afternoon. And we bring in the real geniuses of the program. We're going to talk about stem cell strategies in terms of regeneration, platelet-derived growth factors, which is a big hot area in sports medicine these days. And then we'll finish up talking about performance-enhancing drugs. And some of you might think that's related to the blue pill, but there are other pills and things that make muscles bigger and potentially make people faster. And probably the saddest thing is I used to have this wonderful series of slides of Lance Armstrong. And Lance Armstrong was without a doubt the most tested athlete probably of all time. And somehow he was able to fool a lot of people, including me, and come to find out he's probably the world's biggest cheater in terms of performance enhancement, sad to say. So anyways, look forward to a great session. We'll certainly do a question and answer session following the end of Tom's talk, and look forward to hearing some cool things. So without any further delay, Habib, you're up. Yeah. This is Habib Torfi. He's going to be talking about stem cell biology.
Vince, thank you so much. Vince and I go back while we were the UCI. He was doing all sexy stuff with NASA at the time. I'm not sure if he still does the same thing. It was good to be back to UCI campus. I was here from 1999 to 2001, and also one of the speakers was one of our students in the lab now. He's a sports medicine doc. Is amazing to see the changes. Also, I think this type of seminars are really close and dear to our heart. I'm an advocate of preventative medicine. I think this goes a long way to basically this whole seminar today. It goes a long way to basically achieve that educational level for the general public to basically use preventive medicine rather than getting injured, and that would need basically therapies similar to stem cell. As a avid runner, I also share the congresses or the meetings agenda. But moving forward, for disclosure, I'm the president and CEO of Embryonic, which is a stem cell and wound healing company. We are a international company. We are here, we have our headquarters here in Irvine, California. We also have affiliations and relationships in Asia, including Taiwan, Beijing, and Shanghai, and Jakarta. So we are using stem cell therapy in different arenas. Our core technology is adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cell or fat stem cell. We also dabble into umbilical cord stem cell therapy. This is the topic of our talks today. The other aspect of our business, we are venturing into immunotherapy or T-cell, or the fancy name for this type of cancer therapy is CAR technology or chimeric antigen receptor. I'll try to shed some light on this as we move forward. I want to really use this today as a general public. We don't want to go really into too much detail. It's explaining what stem cells are, type of stem cells, and where and how you can use this technology in which possible therapies or diseases. See, here we go. The next slide is, so today's slide deals with a condition that is referred to rheumatoid arthritis. This is an autoimmune disease. In this case, what you really you can use patient's own cells, but it's best to use an allogeneic stem cell. That means basically someone else's cells in order to treat this population of patients. Now, what allogenic or autologous or xenogenic refers to is autologous is your own cells, allogenic is someone else's, another human. Then xeno is when you use an animal stem cell. You have seen in burn patients we use pig or we use other animals in order to basically treat some of these diseases. The type of allogenic stem cell that is used is it could be a bone marrow transplant. Most of you have heard about bone marrow. It could be a umbilical cord blood or a cord blood stem cell or other type of stem cells. Now, a lot of people basically when they talk about stem cell, they think it's something that happened in the 90s. In reality, a stem cell for the first time and regularly has been used in bone marrow transplantation since 1963. So it's not really something new. It's not something that happened yesterday. Sir Bernard in South Africa, when he did the first open heart transplant, he actually did a stem cell therapy. Because today, I was part of a team in UCLA back in 1997. We set out to basically use the theory that if you have bone marrow you have a stem cell in bone marrow, will you have a stem cell in fat? Lo and behold, after about 2 years of studying fat stem cell, we did find these mesenchymal stem cells in fat. We drove and differentiated these cells to bone, muscle, and cartilage. So today, science basically can prove that you have a stem cell basically in every tissue and organ in your body. So, and from an evolutionary standpoint, stem cells, there is a reservoir or a saving of stem cells in every organ and tissue in our body to come and, as we age, to come in and basically repair or supply stem cells throughout our biological life. So having said that, if anyone in here believes that the stem cell that just happened during Mr. Bush administration is pulling your leg. Stem cells have been around for about a couple of billion years. And we are not really unique. Literally, any multi-organism or unicellular organism has the same DNA as we have. And the same ATCG, the DNA makeup of all of us are the same. If you're an ant or a rat or a plant, you have the same alphabet. Now, the other aspect of stem cell therapy is autologous. What kind of cells can you use from your own body to repair yourself? By basically transferring fat stem cells either through IV or injecting in your knee or wherever else you need, you can do this. This is a technology that is available. We do this through an IRB protocol where the patient comes into us, we extract the fat, isolate the stem cells, and inject them back to wherever they need it. We do a lot of plastic surgery cases in a minimally invasive facelift, breast augmentation. Believe it or not, the Brazilian butt fever is very hot in Southern California, so we do a lot of butt augmentation. I never thought I would get to that business, but we are in that. This is some of the characteristics of stem cells. In order for a cell to be called the stem cells, it has to have two main characteristics. One, it has to have the ability to divide or self-renew. That means every cell has to give rise to two other cells that are identical. The other ability of stem cells is their ability to differentiate to whatever. If we take fat stem cells from you, a real stem cell, isolate the stem cells, and put it here by your nose bridge, it should basically differentiate to bone. So I would basically consider that to be like a 2-year-old naive kid that you put in preschool or kindergarten. These cells will behave to the microenvironment. They get the cell signaling that from the microenvironment, and they'll become myocardial cells. They become heart cells. They become bone, muscle, cartilage, whatever else. So that's their main claim. Clinically, today, science can basically claim one thing that the stem cells do is they reduce inflammation. Most of our diseases have an inflammation base. So that is really goes a long way into perhaps treating some of these diseases. So as I said, we have mesenchymal stem cells, amniotic stem cells, adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cells. This is a cartoon that I like to use as an advocate of stem cell therapy. And the embryonic stem cell therapy is the gold standard. And I'll tell you why, even though we do not use embryonic stem cell, but within embryonic stem cells, when at the point of inception, when you have the sperm and the egg basically come together, there are millions of reactions that happens in the first fractions of a second. We really don't understand any of these chemical reactions. We don't know what happens. Depending on your religious belief, if you are a Christian, it's few days. If you are Muslim, it's 40 days. If you're a scientist, it's the first few seconds. the true inception is. And we, even though we do not practice or use embryonic stem cell, but embryonic stem cells can be the answer to a lot of the diseases that some people suffer. If you have family member that has cystic fibrosis, that these kids die within the first few weeks, few days of their life, we really want to understand what happens, why genetically these patients have cystic fibrosis, and how can we correct this. I know in Northern Europe, they basically, when the couple get married, they get tested. If they have the same genetic disorder that we may give them an offspring with cystic fibrosis, they will ask them not to have an offspring because we do not know how to take care of that child, and it's a disastrous for those of you who are parents. It's a disastrous result to have a kid that would suffocate right there in front of your eyes, and today's science has really no answer to keep these kids alive. So again, regardless of your spiritual beliefs or whatever, this is the answer. This is understanding what happens here. I'll briefly go through the oocyte. You have a fertilized egg. You have a morula. At this point, you basically we have 8 to 12 cells. You can take these cells, and each one of these cells will give you a normal human organism. The next step is blastocyst. Basically, you can get the cells from the inner cell mass, divide this in a cell culture in a facility, and differentiate this to bone, muscle, cartilage, and go back to the patient. So this is a huge deal, but again, today we are not ready to use embryonic stem cells because there are a lot of things that we do not understand. They are what we call totipotent, which have a lot of potentials. Also, they could be wild in a sense that they can give you teratomas or other unnecessary harm to the patient. Now, if you have a grandma that is 85 years old, has Alzheimer's, and she wants to stay around for a couple of more Thanksgiving, will I advance and use embryonic stem cells to treat her? This is something that we'll talk to the family and discuss the pros and cons and the risk involved. Again, depending on everything we do has risk. But anyway, this is really, I'm going to move on to the actual talk. Human umbilical vascular endothelial cells. What this is, we basically get these cord blood samples from the hospital. We can grow these the umbilical wall cells in culture. These are allogeneious. We grow a bunch of these cells and use these in many different diseases, including some anti-aging. This could be used in an orthopedic, in a knee or hip injection. This is also could be used in a variety of disorders. One of the diseases that we like to use this type of therapy is in autoimmune disease. So what happens in an autoimmune disease is that your own immune system, your own T cells attack your joint all day. So what we like to do is, or in graft versus host disease, after you have a lung or a heart transplant, you have to take medication for the rest of your life. So what we like to do is use these allogeneious cells in order to basically stop the interaction between your own immune system attacking your joints. So this type of therapy is really important in diseases similar to rheumatoid arthritis. And I'll show you a couple of slides of the recent study that we did. That's basically what happens in rheumatoid arthritis. You have the swelling, inflammation of your joints, and today there's a lot of biologic drugs similar to Genentech's drug and among others, and then you can take a steroid, and you hopefully you can live with the pain, but there is really no cure for this type of diseases. And what we have done, basically, we grow these cells. This is how these cells look in cell culture. This is a picture of a patient that actually he is sitting here in the audience, and he and I basically met about a year ago, or close to a year ago. And he came in and we started basically treating him with this HUVAC cells, or the human umbilical vascular endothelial cells. And this is before pictures. This is before and after. This is after about, I think, 6 or 7 months, we began to see quite a bit of improvement in his condition. So that's really the technology that we are in. I would be dismissed not to mention another technology that we have is basically using patients' own cells to treat cancer. Basically, we can isolate these subsets of T cells that are, we like to have fancy name for them, the natural killer cells, CD56, or T helper cells, CD5 or CD8, and we can grow this under special conditions and help these patients basically improve their immune system so they can deal with the drug. The fancy things that is coming down the tube in cancer therapy is called the CAR technology, or chimeric antigen receptors, where you can basically get a suicide gene or a cancer gene inserted through a viral vector into the patient's cells, grow these cells, and then inject these cells back in the patient and go after the tumor or the cancer. So these are really the promise of a stem cell therapy. Is a stem cell therapy for everything and for everyone? Do we have a cure or a treatment or therapy? Vehemently, the answer is no. We are learning, it's experimental. There is a lot of stem cell therapy that is happening. A gentleman that is coming after me will talk to you about PRP. And there is a lot of different technologies that is going on. What we think is happening today, we are beginning to really learn how to use the stem cell therapy as a tool, as an adjunct to current standard of care and medicine that is practiced. Without further ado, I'll hand the baton to the next speaker. Ruben?